Voilà, on est de retour. Welcome back. It's time for our next matchup. It's going to be the Wolves taking on the Dragonborns. We're going to start off in the blue corner. They almost did it against Fnatic last week. Give it up for the Copenhagen Wolves. Looking very concentrated. On the other side, we'll have a team that had a roster change this week, so we'll see what they can bring. It's the Dragonborns! All right, it's high time to dive into this game. I'm sure that both teams will bring a lot of action to the table. So let's go over to Tweaks and Lej and Joe and Jason.
So on to another match that's got a ton of interesting storylines. The Copenhagen Wolves taking on a new look Dragonborns. During the course of last week, Dragonborns of course made the decision to bench Maluno and Spontex and bring in Yamato Cannon and Dexter One to refresh their lineup. There are reasons for that, as Hosan actually explained a little bit in that press release, were to improve the overall atmosphere in the team and fix gameplay misunderstandings that had happened in past games and in practice sessions as well. Jason, what do you think to the changes at this stage of the season?
Well, first of all, we should point out that they're not permanent roster changes. They're just temporary changes right now. I think Jad even mentioned earlier that it's, it's a potential spot for them if they perform well this week. But, to me, it's kind of questionable with how late into the season we already are. This is week number 6, and the relegation matches are coming up very soon. They're ranked number 6 right now, if I'm not mistaken. And you don't want to lose that game. We saw when they play against... I always do that. Versus against All Authority, we had that base race happen, and you saw in the top lane where we saw the entire Dragonborns team, there was like half backing, half pushing, and they kind of pushed and then backed again kind of thing. Yep. It really, you saw the turmoil on the team right there with the decision to push or to retreat or to push. We saw it with SK as well during the World Finals. But it's one of those things where you kind of, in my opinion, you should work around. You should kind of talk about it, try to work on that, because to be honest, Dragonborns were a damn good team. Like with their 5, when everyone was playing on par, everyone's listening, they played exceptionally well. And when we saw Maluno come into the team, when Broken Shard left after the LCS qualifiers, it took him about 2 or 3 weeks to actually get into the flow of things. I mean, he didn't perform well at all the first 2 weeks. I think even he says it himself. But after that, you just saw him. They meshed together so well. They played so perfect. And now replacing 2 members 6 weeks in, it just seems like maybe a little bit too much.
Yeah, and of course, as you said, they're in that 6th position, technically tied with Giants before today's results came in there. So they are definitely in the danger zone. Yeah. They're tied 6th and 7th, so technically they are down there if, their fate so decides. So this is an important game from them against Copenhagen Wolves themselves, rooted to the bottom of the table. They're bang last right now. They also need a win here, and I've talked about this before. In football, we call it a 6-point game, which means that, of course, it's only technically worth a win at the end of the day, but because you're so evenly matched in the table, it's worth so much more, because you're not only getting those 3 points or the win yourselves, you're denying your opponents the chance to be climbing away from it as well. And the question is, though, that's going to be on everyone's mind, how are Maluno and Spontex's replacements coming into this one really going to affect the synergy and the outcome of the game here for the Dragonborns? So with that all said and done, let's take a look at how these two teams compare right now. Starting off with Wolves on the blue side with Nigod, Bro, Svenskeren, Bjergsen, the Tess, and Deficio.
And for the first time in European LCS, over on the red side, for Dragonborns, we have Yamato Cannon in that top lane, Dexter One going to be in the jungle, Shushe, Hosan, and Mover.
Yeah, two very, very experienced teams. It's hard to say that. I mean, we're only at week 6 now, but they've gained between them here. I'd say Wolves in particular have gained so much experience, so much crucial experience that they had pretty much none of coming into LCS this time around. So let's take a look then at the key players for these two teams, starting off with the Copenhagen Wolves and their AD carry, the Tess.
And we do have to talk a lot about him because, the first couple of weeks when they had Kautar playing their mid lane, Bjergsen wasn't there, you could see the pressure on his shoulders. You could see him just being smothered with how well he had to perform with all these expectations. And finally with Bjergsen on the team, with him taking some of that weight off his shoulders, playing well, the Tess has pretty much shown through. I mean, he's been playing exceptional Varus games, he's played great Ezreal games as well, and he's really coming into his own now that he finally has that breathing room.
Well, let's have a look at their opponents. Hard to pick out who's going to be the key man in this lineup with the 2 replacements, but of course, we've gone for their AD carry as well. Hosan, a big man with Draven. Take us through, what you think his strengths are going to be coming into this one, Jason.
I think his strengths are that in his brain, he doesn't have any fear, like any fear part in his brain, because he will just push at you with any AD carry, not afraid of the results, because he wants to win the lane. He knows like when he can win. Like if you make one little misposition, then he can take advantage of it in every single way. He's managed to make Caitlyn an aggressive AD carry when she's usually passive. He's played phenomenal all of LCS so far. We even saw him, 1v1ing in the mid lane against Xpeke. We saw him put off a couple of 1v2s, and even heard Gambit talk about him saying, Hosan can 1v5 us practically if he gets fed enough.
Yeah, he is definitely a dangerous player. Really wouldn't surprise me to see that Draven being banned out here coming into this next game. Although, AP in Italy, we've seen him, he's able to play that one as well down in the bottom lane. So before we get started here in what will definitely be a very, very interesting matchup, especially to see how Dragonborns perform, we sat down and had a chat with the teams to see what they had to say.
I think that Wolves are pretty dangerous. They've shown that they can win against anyone.
Dragonborns is probably one of the hardest teams to prepare against because they have so many different tactics and they have so many cheese tactics.
They got really a lot stronger after Bjergsen got back. They can speak their native language right now. And then there's obviously Hosan. I myself have a bit of a friendly rivalry, I guess you could call it, with him. So I really want badly to beat him. And I know he wants to beat me.
They can make pentas first in the LCS. They can do quadras really easy.
They want to surprise the audience with something new. We saw Soraka Nidalee bot lane. We're going to have to prepare and adapt, so that's always exciting playing against them.
I think I know how to deal with wolves.
Great edit to the video there. Xuexing knows how to deal with wolves.
Right, but you heard the confidence there out of the test. I mean, he says, you have to really adapt to how they play, and that's kind of been the big story of Season 3. And Copenhagen Wolves have started to do that. We've seen a lot of interesting plays out of Bjergsen with interesting champions. We've seen the test kind of adapt as well with his playstyle, finally being aggressive for once. And, Wolves, they easily can win this game. I mean, we saw the momentum built up after they won that first game. They won the next 3 after that, and then unfortunately they lost, but you can't really bet the Wolves out in any way.
No, and you can't, in the same respect, count Dragonborns out here. We're talking about how this change in the roster will hinder them. We've not touched on the fact that it could actually help them.
That's true.
We've seen time and time again through League of Legends that a replacement in a team initially can give you a big boost. That whole freshness to the lineup, it brings almost a new will to win the game, and that could really drive them forward here. The question is, though, again, on the flip side, how well are they meshed? How much time have they had to really practice what they want to bring to the table?
Well, the perfect example of that is against Authority. We saw, before they went to EU LCS qualifiers, they had a different jungler. He was replaced by Virtual, and they even said themselves they flourished with him. He pretty much matched their style perfectly. They were able to play exceptionally well. But then on the other hand, Dragonborn's first 2 weeks when Maluna came in, they looked very, very iffy at first, but as time progressed, they finally did start to mesh.
Yeah, a very, very interesting game coming our way here. The players starting to filter into the game here, hopefully soon. Apparently they've got a couple of settings issues up there as well, so we're going to be waiting here for a second.
Everyone says like playing after the Russians is like the hardest thing ever because they always change their screen resolution to be like exceptionally tiny, and the whole sense of the monitor. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, that would make sense if they don't each individually have their own SSDs, which just plug straight in there and the settings are completely wiped.
I forgot about that.
But you've got a good point, Jason, nonetheless, in that one. I know that a few people do have a problem with that one, obviously, coming in there as well. It's always a bit annoying if there's settings change, which you don't quite know where those settings are and what have you. So that's something they've got to get doing. But as you said, they're all using an individual SSD hard drive there, which they just plug straight in. All the settings are on it as well, which should speed things up.
It should.
It should speed things up, or so you would think here. But, this is game number 4 of today. We've still got another game to come up after this one. But for now, I mean, who do you fancy for this one? Wolves, like you said, they've never looked bad in LCS, despite being bottom, despite going 0 for 9 before they won that game. They've never looked bad at all.
Yeah, looking at both teams right now, because the big story between this whole time is the replacements of Dragonborns. I have to give this game, just off of looking at it right now, over to Wolves, because Dragonborns has a very unique playstyle. They thrive off chaos. They're very aggressive early on. You have an AD carry that will pretty much lead a team. You know, he'll pretty much be the first one to rush into the enemy team to start a fight. Yeah. And that might be really hard to get used to as a jungler in a top lane when you're going to be needed so much in these fights. You're going to have to protect him, and maybe not all players are used to an AD carry that, you know, will go like there's no end.
Well, talking to Hosan earlier, and to the manager, the new manager, actually, we should say, of Dragonborns, he was telling us a little bit about how these two players are going to fit into the lineup, and basically they were recommended, Dexter, when they were looking for someone to fill that role in the jungle, which, you know, up until now, we have to say has been a problem role for Dragonborns. They brought Maluno in because Broken Shard couldn't compete in LCS, couldn't come out of Israel for whatever reason, so they brought Maluno in there. Now they had another problem in finding someone else, and they were recommended, Dexter, by a person who actually used to scout strategies for them and you know, just give them some general tips on other teams and what to expect in upcoming matches and what have you. So we'll see how Dexter fits into that one. Yamato Cannon, on the other hand, he's an experienced guy. He has played in the likes of DreamHack. He has won tournaments in England, the I-Series events, actually. You know, he had two teams, Team Solo Mebdi and also Mebdi's Minions in there. So he definitely has experience at tournaments. In front of a crowd this big and wild, not quite so sure, though.
Yeah, and one thing that's a major factor is how many times has this team been able to play together? Because it's only been a week since the last week of LCS, where it was week number 5. How much can you really practice? How much can you really train? And if you do you really have the ability to train these different strategies you want to run? Like the Nidalee Soraka, would that work with these two players that you just brought into the team? Or do you have to play more of a standard kind of play style? And I guess we'll see how that actually happens for them and develops as we get into the game. But, you know, a standard play style to me doesn't sound like something Dragonborns ever likes doing.
I don't think they know what a standard play style is. That could be the problem for them there. But they arrived yesterday evening, around about 5, 6 o'clock, I think. Maybe even a little bit later than that. I saw them when they all came in. Hosan had a few problems because of snow and what have you. He was supposed to take a bus here and ended up flying through Holland and then taking a bus. I don't know, it was a crazy travel schedule for him. So I'm wondering how much Dragonborns, you know, despite the obvious fact that they can't have played too much together because this roster is new, but how much these new guys have had in terms of time to get used to, you know, what are 3 core members in Xuexi, Hosan, and Move-It.
And looking at the other, as you see him shake away the camera, like, no, not now when I'm yawning. But on the other side of that coin, we have the Copenhagen Wolves. They just got their gaming house last week. They finally have an opportunity to sit down and start practicing. We saw that happen with Against All Authority when they finally got their house. They were able to just relax, were able to train, didn't have to play in our studios till 2 in the morning, and they came back that next week phenomenally. They played like a completely different team. I'm wondering if the Wolves will do that exact same thing this weekend.
And a little bit of friendly banter going on in the chat as Bjergsen says, I will pick my secret champion. Did you prepare, Xuexi? Which was actually Udyr mid. not sure that he's actually going to break that one out for this game, although, you know, Bjergsen, he's not been one to be really confined to the norms, I think we can say there. I mean, we've seen him obviously playing that Syndra where we got the first pentakill
and 2 quadras.
And 2 quadras of the EU LCS this season. So we'll have to see what they bring to the table this time around.
The thing with Bjergsen is, though, we've seen a lot of teams focus him on bans. He plays pretty much 3 champions that you can think of off the top of your head. He plays a lot of Syndra, a lot of Nidalee, a lot of Lux. We've seen him play Kassadin, obviously that's where he got his first 2 quadra kills, and then Syndra's where he got his penta, but, like, do you really want to commit those 3 bans onto him?
Probably not.
I mean, we've seen it done before against Ocelot in a couple of games where they just want to completely take him out of the game, but then you have Godbro who can play like maybe Singed top or play a comfort champion, Sven Skaren, who, in my opinion, has actually been having a little bit of a tough time adapting to this patch because he's played a lot of Xin in the past, but now he's being forced to play a little bit of Jarvan, a little bit of other couple of champions to be more helpful to the team. But it's the bans that are really going to, I guess, decide how this game progresses, because Dragonborns, you can't ban them out, except most likely the Draven, which is a very obvious one to go for.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do, to ban out Dragonborns, especially when a lot of people have had trouble. I already talked to teams that said, we couldn't really find Dexter anywhere.
Exactly,
We couldn't really figure out what he was going to come and bring to the table, what he was going to play for this one. I've heard that we may have a jungle Taric on the cards. I can safely say that because the players can't hear that here in France. So we may see that come out here today, but we'll have to see about that one. The players are actually all in the game right now, so we shouldn't be too far away from kicking off Champion Select. It looks like Dragonborns just need a little bit more time to get themselves ready for this one. But let's focus in there a little bit more, you know, directly. What are you expecting for the bans here? Who is it going to be aimed at? What are we going to see? I'm
gonna go on a limb against Draven as a first ban potentially.
You went really out on a limb.
Yeah, I know. Who would have thought that would happen? A Draven most likely. And the Wolves, during their feature talking about, you know, the Dragonborns, they talked about, you know, adapting to the Soraka Nidalee lane. I'm curious if they're going to kind of shut that down, but maybe take away Nidalee, and that way you prevent Xuxe from going it, or even Yamato Ken, which, I mean, I don't even think Copenhagen Wolves know exactly what he plays in the top lane that much. Obviously, you can look him up quite easily.
I don't know. Yamato Cannon's been around for a very long time as a top laner, so I think they're going to have Yamato Cannon on lockdown.
Okay.
It's been around in solo queue for forever. I have to point out, though, NiGodBro, looking through the statistics, he's not having a good time of things up until now in that top lane.
And I'm really curious why, because it seems like he's played a lot of comfort champions up there, but he hasn't been able to flourish, and I'm not 100% sure why that's been happening. I mean, maybe he just isn't having the backup, maybe the jungler isn't camping enough his lane or something like that, but, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to, now that he's finally in the house, finally relaxed, to finally excel and finally show his true colors that he can easily carry games himself. Because if I'm not mistaken, he has less kills than some...
A lot of people.
Yeah.
Than quite a few people. If you look at the sites, you can find them, by the way, over at lolesports.com. If you scroll down to the bottom of the teams pages there in the tab, you can actually find it down there, and you can switch it from teams to players and find out all the individual stats, sort them from top to bottom in terms of kills, deaths, assists, minions killed, golden, all that kind of thing. Some really great,
Wards
interesting... some what?
Wards put down.
Walls put down,
right, please.
sadly not.
Right, please.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe we'll get that in the future anyway. But it seems like we're almost ready. Dragonborns just having a couple of issues, it seems, with their voice communication stuff, which will get sorted out here in just a second. We have the admins over on stage.
Speaking of that, what language does Dexter 1 and Yamato Ken speak?
English.
Okay, and then didn't Dragonborn speak Polish to each other previously?
No.
Okay, yeah, because Maluno isn't Polish.
Only Xuxe and Hosan are Polish.
I was about to say, because communication might be a big deal. We talked to, or they mentioned in the feature about the Wolves finally having Bjergsen back. They were able to talk their own language, which is really a key factor when trying to, like, communicate quickly in a split situation, like we saw with Wolves versus Fnatic. When we had Bjergsen in the base defending against the pushing super minions, you need that split-second decision, and you need to be able to communicate it clearly.
Yeah, I mean, Dragonborns are a multinational team. This lineup and the one before, I mean, we had Maluno's Swedish, Bontex is French, Xuxe is Polish, and Muva, I believe, is Swedish, maybe even Norwegian. But I'm going to go ahead and say Swedish. I think he's Swedish. Yamato Kan is also Swedish, by the way, coming in there. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, you can't really nail down one language other than English in a lineup like that. Which, you know, we've talked about that, I think, in a previous week about how important communication is and how much it can really hinder you if not everyone speaks one language, or if that one language then, of course, is English, how well each member of the team can speak it.
I was just thinking of Team Alternate, because you have RNA there, and whenever there's an Asher or Shen on the other team, how hard it must be for them to communicate with that.
Don't pick on Aaron.
He's a good guy. Hey, and they won today against Team Mistral, so they'll be actually qualified to go into the relegation matches now.
Well, they can get it even easier if they manage to take down Meet Your Makers tomorrow.
And get a nice chunk of change.
Start off tomorrow at 11:30 Central European Time, obviously 11:30 in the morning. And it will follow on then with 7 LCS games here from Europe. So a busy, busy day, and we still have tickets on sale for tomorrow. So get yourselves down here to Lille. You can buy on the door. I think you can still buy online as well if you want to have that safety margin, but pretty sure you'll be able to get in them down here on the door as well. So, looks like Dragonborns are finally ready for this one, and Copenhagen Wolves have been ready for a little while, so we're going to get this one underway.
And Joe, because you never really get asked this too much, I just want to ask you really quickly, who do you favor?
I really like Dragonborns' chance here because of the whole freshness of a lineup. It can work both ways. I could be totally wrong, they could get stomped, but I think the personalities fit this whole freestyle playing, you know, not nailing down a strategy. I don't know if Dragonborn's ever nailed down a specific strategy, but I think the whole fluid play style that they could bring to this one, with having those two new players in there, could change how things go. So here we go then, into the bans and the pick. Surprise, surprise, it's Draven banned out first for the Wolves.
And I wouldn't be okay. So Zed, I was trying to get into Xuxe a little bit because people like to take him out of the game in terms of banning, but Zed is kind of one of those champions that really has come around the last 2 weeks where people start playing him a lot in the mid lane, even the top lane. We saw Kevin playing that earlier from SK. Really annoying champion to go up against. And then on the other side, we see Caitlyn banned out. So that's 2 champions, and actually Hosan plays quite a bit. A little bit surprised to see that taken away, as we know the test plays a lot of Ezreal and Varus. So it's a little bit interesting ban right there, but Copenhagen Wolves do have that last ban, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it as an EP. Or Xin Zhao.
Or Xin Zhao. Out of there. So what are they going to finish off here, Dragonborns? Wouldn't surprise me to see Nidalee banned out, or Lux, of course. That can go over to Bjergsen quite happily if he was able to get his hands on it. That's banned out, and instantly the boos come out. They wanted to see Lux in with that one, and an insta-lock of Jarvan.
Yeah, we did see Svenskeren play him last week against Fnatic. Actually played really well. There's a couple of fights he unfortunately overcommitted. I mean, Copenhagen was looking so solid in that game, but he plays a pretty exceptional Jarvan, a very strong champion early on, and we do see Dragonborns pick up Varus and Rumble. I don't remember if Hosan... Actually, no, he does play a little bit of Varus. He played against Gambit Gaming in week number 4, so we see how well he'll do here. And then Copenhagen Wolves with the next two picks, they do have that potential top lane to pick or the AD carry to lock in, but, you know, it's the test. We expect Ezreal most likely.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see that Ezreal come out there as well. But what are they going to go with in this round? I mean, obviously the AD carry now will be a safe pick. The support to basically take it away from what Dragonborns can really throw their way in the next round of picks. There you can see on your screen, Svenskeren and Bjergsen sat in the middle, and of course a Thresh was left open, and Deficio has got a mean Thresh.
He wants to hear the crowd going for that team right there. But yeah, I mean, we've seen him play exceptional Thresh, like you're saying, against I always do that versus against all Thor. I love hearing that ooh or the boos. But yeah, that paired up with Graves, which we haven't seen the test play yet, LCS, if I'm not mistaken. I'll be really interested to see how well they do there. It's a lot of burst down in that bottom lane, and they're against a Varus, so you could potentially knock him down really quickly, but with that Taric being hovered on, which I believe Movert does play quite a bit of, that will be a really nice counter in that bottom lane.
If we see the mid player locked in here, mid champion for Dragonborns, they might take another support as that final pick and put that Taric in the jungle. Hosan was pretty convinced that they were thinking about it. And as I say that, we can just get Volibear and forget everything that I just said.
Well, still, I mean, it's always a possibility, and he's becoming one of those champions where you have that ability to play in the top lane, mid lane, or sorry, not mid lane, jungle or support. But, you know, with the recent changes to him, especially, I believe, next week, it will be changed even more. He kind of has fallen off as being played or a highly contested pick. And we've seen Godbro and Singed before. We've seen him do pretty well when he's playing against the Giants, but I don't know how well he'll do here, because you do have Jarvan, and if you fling someone, you don't have the ability to just run around their group. You'll be able to get to the back line, but he might be able to hold you off in a really bad position.
Well, Singed is definitely a possibility. We've seen Godbro play, and we know that he can play. I'm almost surprised not to see a Nidalee up until now from both these two lineups. We know that they can pretty much all play in there. I doubt that Karma will end up being locked in at the end of that one, but Singed will be locked in there, and that will go over to Godbro.
You know, the Nidalee, I definitely agree. It could be like a potential pick, but I think with their composition, they're not really going for any kind of poke. They really want to get the damage up front. They want to get in there together, as you see in the Kha'Zix being locked in, so they have a lot of burst damage. If you get Jarvan to lock them down, it's Heimerdinger, first time being seen. If you get Jarvan to lock them down, you can put out so much damage on top of them from that. Also, you have a pretty tanky team with that Singed mixed in.
Yeah, and the crowd obviously going wild there for Heimerdinger, for Teemo, for Karma. And quite a few champions that we used to see where people would cheer like that, but now we actually see him in play, like Volibear, for example.
Yeah. Well, we've seen Jungle Heimerdinger before.
Well, that's true as well. We have seen a Jungle Heimerdinger not too long ago, not too distant past. The crowd ramping up, trying to get Movement to lock this one in. But
if I was in position, I would do it. I would do it just for fun.
Well,
the crowd
Jason,
would go
I
insane.
hate to
That's why I'm not
disappoint
a
you,
pro
but
player.
this is a bottom-of-the-table clash in European LCS. These teams fighting for their spot, fighting for their life. Not quite for their life, but for their lifestyle, let's call it, for their job here. So I don't think for fun is really the name of the game, and it's going to be switched to Kale in the end.
Wow, you heard the crowd counting down right there as they saw the timer tick. Where's the grin on your face, Mover? I would be cracking up so hard off of that. But anyways, they do lock that in, and we do have interesting lineups from both teams. Actually, Dragonborn's running a very interesting composition, which isn't really the playstyle we know them as running. They're not like a super aggressive team, but they still have like a pretty solid mid to late game. Like they do have that nice Taric Varus come on the bot lane and putting on a lot of damage. But the Rumble, pretty good early on, but as the game progresses, you really become deadly in these team fights.
Well, we're seeing some last-minute switches here. I'm guessing that Godbro, is going to switch that off. He was running Ghost Flash, so that's definitely more of a cinch as Yamato can, and then you just see him bouncing up and down, trying to get his chair at the perfect level, which I think a lot of people really underestimate, coming from, playing at home to playing in a tournament, how much of a difference, like literally just the height of your chair can make to how comfortable you are in a game.
Yeah, very true. I mean, you've been around esports so long, with FPSs like Counter-Strike, and you know how crucial it is to have the right mouse pad, the right mouse, the right sensitivity in game. And League of Legends, it also matters quite a bit because, flinging your mouse to hit the right champion or to hit the correct champion is really something that you don't talk about too much, but it can really make or break your team fight.
Well, it's not even about having the right mouse, it's about having your mouse, because a brand new mouse, hasn't got the dirty, sweaty fingerprints on it and the way that it is, but it really is true in that respect that if you don't have your stuff coming into a tournament, you're not going to do very well. It's going to be a hindrance to you more than anything else. Yeah, right now, Yamato, Cannon, and Dex have not quite earned their Dragonborn hats. Actually, I saw Spontek still rocking his Dragonborn hat earlier on, living in the past, obviously.
See if I can buy it off of him or something. Maybe he'll give it to me for free, I don't know.
So here we go then, getting into our fourth game of the day. It's Copenhagen Wolves versus Dragonborns, a new look Dragonborns. Let's see how they are going to go in this game, see what they're going to bring to the table. Jason, talk us through level 1 and any possibilities here.
Well, level 1, I think Dragonborns has a very strong combo for this. They have that nice Taric's stun into a Volibear flip, not to mention potential slow out of Rumble. But as you're seeing on their screen right now, they're actually just setting up, not really trying to go for anything, maybe just get some vision down. But if we did see a level 1 engage, I would have to get over to Dragonborns. The Wolves, they are pretty tanky, but they don't have an amazing team for a head-on-head battle right now.
There is Svenskeren just laying the smack down onto one of those wards.
I love that sound.
Just a big hit, but all he does one damage, same as all the others. We'll see. But Dragonborns here are actually moving through onto this corner brush. You can see that a ward will spot their position. Those Void Spikes should pretty much give it away there to Dragonborns that they've been spotted. They just don't care.
Oh, check out bot lane, Joe. They're actually going to be walking right by a ward right now. So we do have Dragonborns with vision on the Wolves, and they might be able to turn this around as we do see Yamato Cannon backing away.
Yep, Dragonborns are going to be trying something here. They've still got 4 men on this top side of the river. Copenhagen Wolves backing off themselves. Tess and Officio will walk over the top of that ward. So Dragonborns now know that they've come out of their jungle. Hosan, Mover, and Dexter are still on this top side. And it's looking like we are going to obviously have that lane switch as they take away the Wolves first of all. Will they be able to safely secure that blue buff as well?
This is a really nice start for Dragonborns as well, because with having that vision on the bottom side of the jungle, they know if the Wolves are going to invade their blue. Jarvan obviously could go a little bit of a different path right now, but they're going to be able to secure potentially three out of the 4 buffs on the map, which gives them a nice level advantage. And Jarvan, he really excels at that early game presence with the jungler, and by denying him some levels, you really kind of prevent that pressure he can apply.
And we've just seen Yamato Cannon putting another ward down there on top of that blue buff. So they have definitely got good vision on that one to know if Copenhagen Wolves decide to go in. And there we can see they are moving around the corner. Dexter did actually use his smite earlier on, so he can't just take that one over the top of the wall here. Svenskeren did save his pink ward, was put down, but Yamato Cannon will be closing in as well as they go down towards Svenskeren. He's actually going to take the blue, flashes over the wall. Well, that may open him up here to attacks from Xuche. Bjergsen going to dive in there as well. Xuche taking a lot of damage, but they can't get him to finish it. A chaotic start.
Yeah, very chaotic. They did commit a lot of or not a lot of, but the summoners out of Svenskeren. No, he doesn't have that flash. He's going to help him as the game progresses, at least stop his ganks early on. But great job by the Wolves right there to prevent them from losing the 3 out of the 4 buffs in the map. And that really keeps Sven in the game. And I mentioned before during, well, before even the picks and bans, that Sven plays a pretty good Jarvan. And we're seeing it right there, knowing his limits.
Yeah, knowing his limits and getting out of it when he felt like the times could get a little bit torrid for him. In that top lane, of course, we have Varus Taric versus the Cinch. Interesting to see how that one all works out. It's probably going to end up with a lot of damage onto that tower early on. Godbro is actually yet to pick up a single minion at this point, so you could say it's not going too well for it.
Yeah, well, I was going to mention I was a little surprised that he was, and there it is. I was a little surprised to not see Yamato Cannon going head-to-head against someone who's running that 14 flat magic penetration, but Dragonborn's doing a phenomenal job of just denying him quite a bit. 1 CS to 5 at this point. We do have Yamato Cannon pretty much stuck to his turret, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Dexter come down and help them, because that turret is already dangerously low.
Oh, Yamato Cannon going really aggressive there, right into the face of Tess. Also, obviously, shield up there by Deficio. Svenskeren coming again towards this middle lane. Xuche puts down some damage onto Bjergsen, but it looks like Svenskeren quite happy to just get up into the jungle here. Maybe even make his presence felt up towards this top lane to ward off that Varus Taric combo. We've already got the turret down by 2/3 of its health. Svenskeren is in fact going to come up there, and as if by magic, they do back away completely from it.
And Svenskeren, he really committed a lot of time into that mid lane. He knew Xuche's flash was down, so he wanted to open up that first blood potential for Bjergsen to really help carry the team, but because of that, he's not helping out his top lane just yet, which you're seeing him do right now. He's being forced to come up here to make sure that turret stays alive, but if he's going to be committed up there, that allows Dexter to just roam around, create some opportunities potentially at the bot lane or even middle. However, right now, Wolves doing a great job of warding and preventing Dexter from really getting any ganks off so far.
Yeah, and the presence of Svenskeren has allowed Godbro to get a good chunk of farm. I say a good chunk of farm, he's probably like tripled his farm from that one. And Svenskeren still waiting up there at the top, and they've pinged right on top of him here. So Dragonborn's not going to fall for any shenanigans going forward at this point. And there he makes his presence known once again. And that is going to mean that at least they can't put down that damage at this stage. But he's losing time in the jungle as well at the same time. Yeah, but
Dexter was coming towards that top lane. I just see at the bottom, Yamato Cannon actually extending past his turret. I mean, you don't really see that too often in a 1v2 situation, but looks like he is balls enough. He's level 5 right now, and he is ahead in farm compared to his top side. But as a 3-man push really develops up here, this should be the first turret of the game.
Yeah, this surely will be the first. Sorry, Dexter coming in there, and it will be going down here. So nice little opening lead for Dragonborn. 7.6 thousand to 6.9. Healthy start to the game from their side.
And this is a really interesting point in the game. This is where it's going to determine how it develops. You got the top turret, yes, so you have that lane, that extra bit of gold advantage right now. But if you don't do anything off of this, if you don't prevent Godbro from just running in that top lane, farming up, then that whole top turret was taken for nothing. So we need to see Dragonborn keep playing aggressive off this, maybe go for another turret, maybe bot lane or even mid lane, and then potentially turn into a dragon, but they have to do something off of that top turret going down.
Yep, and that will bring us back level again, and in fact, Copenhagen Wolves taking the lead from that turret pickup down in the bottom lane. Is the hook actually landing here from Deficio onto Yamato Cannon? Well, the bear was there to ward him straight away from that. I don't think you're getting any more than a hook off on this one. I am there to protect. Obviously, we will see Varus and Taric come down to this bottom lane. Yamato Cannon going to go back into the top. But as you said, from this, Singe is going to automatically catch up in these next 2 waves.
Yeah, and this is really going to depend if Yamato Cannon can apply some sort of pressure up there. Maybe he can actually keep Godbro pushed back against his own turret if he has a couple of wards. And by doing that, by keeping really aggressive on that top side, you can force Svenskeren to actually babysit towards that top side. But right now, as you are seeing, looks like they might be going for Dragon here, as they do have all 5 members in the vicinity.
Yeah, Dragonborn's lost lost their turret, of course, but they've grouped up nicely for this one. Dragon already going to be started off. Thresh and Graves are on the bottom side. The ward is put in there, but can he stop the Dragon being taken down? Jarvan was coming in. Obviously, he's a threat to any Dragon. There comes the collateral damage a little bit too early. Smited down by Dexter. First Dragon to Dragonborns.
Thank you, Joe, for not doing the team kill joke, but we do have 500 gold lead now because of that. And Dragonborns, I mean, their next play off of this, I really want to see what they're going to do. I believe Yamana Cannon should be able to take Godbro on 1v1 in this situation, especially when he almost has that Haunting Guys done. When he does complete that, the penetration he's going to have is just going to be deadly. No one can really survive against him 1v1 in that situation. In the bot lane now, we have finally Varus and Taric going head-to-head against Graves and Thresh, and this should be really interesting. We do have level 6 already done for the test. But Deficio's level 4 compared to the counterparts of a level 6 Hosan and a level 5 Mover. When we see Mover hit 6, I wouldn't be surprised to see them maybe go a little bit aggressive here and maybe try to go for a kill.
Well, you've got to be always careful of Hosan. You never quite know when he's going to flick that aggression switch and get straight onto you there. Actually, Singed is running rings around the top turret at the same time, doing, well, what a Singed does best. Svenskeren comes to the bottom side as well. Dexter will be coming down as well. Jarvan is level 6 now, so they can lock them up. There is a flash on both Mover and Hosan, though, and they're both available here for the use if needed.
Watch the potential Lantern gank coming out here right now. We could see that Lantern thrown behind Deficio. Jarvan coming in and turn this around as we do have the gank happening.
Here we go. Baron Salty comes in the test, taking a lot of damage. Is he going to go down? Yes, he is. First blood, Hosan could get number 2 here on towards Deficio. There is the ultimate coming out of Jarvan, and he will get the kill. And Deficio is still alive. He's going to walk off backwards from that one. Jarvan was pushing out there. He's going to get the knock up onto Dexter, but he's not gotten the damage.
And in the end, a 1-for-1 trade, but I'd have to give it over to Dragonborns as Hosan was able to pick that one up. The test didn't even get an assist off of that, so he unfortunately didn't really get anything, and now we'll be hurting a little bit in lane. We do have in the top lane, as you touched on a little bit before, we saw Godbro just running circles around that turret as he was pushing up, farming as much as possible, and he's caught up. He's pretty much even with Yamana Cannon at this point, and this is going to be very bad. I mean, we mentioned this before. If Dragonborns don't make a play off of taking that turret down, you're going to let Godbro farm, and he's going to become this tanky force that you can't, or that really isn't that easy to deal with.
I like how you took the word can't out of that for later, just in case they do manage to deal with it. But as you said, risky play. But that down at the bottom, we saw what can happen to Hosan when he starts to get greedy, and he can fall prey to that, and that's what happens with a lot of aggressive players, that they do go a little bit too deep.
And that was a great Cataclysm by Svenskeren to point out, because he kept Hosan just far enough away from being able to pick up that kill on a Deficio. That was great placement.
Also in range of the tower.
Exactly.
At the start, yeah. Nicely done. And that obviously gave the kill over. As the ward's being cleared out once again, calls for celebration here in the crowd. And there is Godbro again. As you mentioned, he's now ahead of Svenskeren in this top lane. They are going to try and get in. This is what is always dangerous with the Singed. You'll fling Yamato Cannon away, but he's going to get flung himself here in a second by Dexter, who's actually decently low from this one. Flash will come out of Godbro, but they're chasing in nonetheless. There's a Rumble ultimate coming down, and Singed walks away again.
I don't even know what happened there. Yamato Cannon, he had his equalizer up the entire time. He could have used it to cut off that retreat out of Godbro and picked up that kill, but in the end, they commit that ultimate, they committed an ignite off of that, even Dex uses ulti there, and they didn't pick up a kill. That was a huge mistake on Dragonborn's side.
Yeah, and Yamato Cannon even on his flash available there to really get in and finish things off, but obviously with his health situation, didn't quite feel confident enough. He now has that Haunting Guys in there. We'll see what that brings for him, Singed, with the Catalyst, the Protector, and that Tia picked up. So nothing really too new on that respect. The middle lane, though, if you look at this, yes, 116 for Bjergsen to the 83 of Shushay. Brutalizer, Tia, what's that Elixir in there for Bjergsen, and the Nash's Tooth rushing into that is Shushay.
Yeah, Bjergsen's been doing a surprisingly good job against Kayle when Kayle has that range advantage on him. But, you know, with those Void Spikes, he's able to sustain, and he still has that red pot on him. I believe he had it at level 1, which he just really hasn't used too much at this point. And Joe, you mentioned Godbro's items a little bit ago, and it's something we actually were looking at last weekend on LCS, is that we saw Kevin. He pretty much built for the same thing, but at that point in the game, we saw Fnatic have just so much damage that they could burst him down, but because of Godbro able to kind of catch up and farm and not really under the threat of being, well, as you saw, he was ganked there, but he still escaped pretty easily. He's able to build up this AP items and then build a little bit tanky right after to be a real nuisance against Hosan and really try to shut him down.
And he's going to go in onto Yamato Cannon again, flings him over there, and he's quite happy to let that poison do its damage from the flame coming out as well, and just push this lane out. He'll probably go straight past that turret. In the meantime, Wolves are going in towards the outer middle turret. It's already down to less than half HP, but can they get in there to finish things off? The Lantern thrown in, and, well, the Void Spikes will clear out, but with 3 men there defending, not much they can do, and also pretty dangerous with the slow out of Kayle, the fling back from Volibear, the stun out of Movet there on Taric. That's not the kind of, the trio that you want to go head-to-head with.
And yeah, exactly. And one thing that I remember during the LCS qualifiers, Joe, that we were casting, Xuexia built pure AP Kayle. And because of that, they're able to burst someone down. We do see Mata can actually get Dovan by Bjergsen here.
Yeah, getting jumped on. He's going to flash over there. Equalizer comes down, but that was going to equalize absolutely nothing in that fight. He was already dead.
And I was trying to point out is that Xuexia built like a pure AP kind of build just to burst someone down.
Yeah.
He's going for more of a sustained damage in these fights. And I was going to say, if Yamada Cannon picks up Sork Boots versus Merc Treads, it's going to show their hand a little bit. It looks like they're trying to burst someone down right now at this point with the equalizer, with just the pure damage coming out of Rumble. Then you have Hosan follow up. Fortunately, Xuexia didn't build for the burst, but it kind of just shows what their aim is in these team fights. And we need to see potentially Yamada Cannon building a giant spell, maybe go for a Rylai's just to be able to deal with Godbro, because they're going to need to slow him down somehow.
Well, there we see Wolves again trying to zone Dragonborns away from the Dragon. Not going to let them have it this time around so easily. Blue buff is given over to Xuexia. Are we going to see the fight? Yamato Cannon is quite a way away from this one. It will be taken. Are they going to go for it? There's the ultimate pop by Godbro, but well, it's more just of a scare tactic than anything else. Once you hear that Singe pop his ultimate, you know he's going to come beelining for you.
Yeah, and smart play by them to just back out, because there's no point engaging when that Dragon does finally go down. Sunny is a little bit ahead in farm. And one thing I was looking at, Dexter's actually running Flash this game. We had Snoopy on the analysis test touching on. Oh, we do see, wow, the test getting very low, but should be able to...
Oh, Xuexia going to flash in for this one.
Wow.
And, well, he finishes that one off pretty easily.
I was like, he should be able to escape. Oh, wait, he flashed it.
Good job you didn't say that one, because, well, Xuexia, he is not scared of getting involved in those. Stun comes down in the middle lane, but blue buff is being done here by Bjergsen. That middle lane didn't really result in anything, by the way.
Yep, and I was trying to touch on how Snoopy last game during the analysis of it, he was touching on Diamond Procs running Ghost instead of Flash, where you can create all these opportunities if you just flash in and get the flip. And with the combo they're running, they have the Vibro to flash in, but they also have the stun out of Taric to really keep him there to allow him to flash in and get the flip, and then they should have the damage right behind that to blow them up instantly. I think even if it's Singed at this point, they could take him down pretty quickly.
And with Xuexia as well pushing his outer turret in the bottom lane. Couldn't quite get the finishing blows he needed to give Dragonborns their second turret of this game. Of course, the first one was fairly early on in that top lane. They are currently behind by 6,000 gold. Wow, 600 gold. It's a little bit closer than 6,000 at this point, that's for sure. But if we look there down the individual gold totals, look at the top lane. Singe now got a good 20 CS lead, which is opposite to what we saw before, but he may find himself getting caught out. I say caught out again. Of course, he escaped the last time they tried to do this, and now you just can't chase that Singe with a test. He is going to get caught out here. Xuexia obviously doesn't have the flash to follow up by this one, but there's the speed going to give him the chance as he gets in there. One more auto attack barrier used by the test, but it won't make a difference. Xuexia picks up the kill again.
And that was 2 kills in a row onto the test. It's really shutting him down at this point, as he's 0-3, but he might get chased down here by Thresh, and he might get chased down by Kha'Zix.
Where is Xuexia going to go? He's going to wait in the brush. Actually goes in towards Bjergsen. He's going to use the ultimate on himself. There is the box, so he's definitely not going to be able to escape, but can he pick a kill with him? No, he can't. Bjergsen gets him.
But still, he delayed long enough for the mid lane to be pushed in by Dragonborns, picking up that turret. Great job by them in the end. He could have ran out of that bush and just had them follow, but they would have picked him up a little bit quicker. And Dragonborns, they're really making plays off of everything that happens. Xuexia, second time in a row he killed the test, where he's now 0-3, but still, Dragonborns is in a position to make a play off of it.
And Tess, you were praising him earlier on about how, the fact that we've got Bjergsen back in the team has taken a weight off his shoulders. This time around, not really been going to plan as Graves. He's a good chunk of CS behind. 0-3-0 after being caught out twice by Xuexia. there in that bottom lane. Other items, by the way, that have been completed here. That Rod of Ages now done for Singed. Locket of the Iron Solari as well is finished for Jarvan.
And Sin is going to be... Godbro's going to be such a problem now. I mean, I mentioned earlier because I wanted to point this out. As you do see the mid lane, looks like it will be pushed down easily right there. But I really wanted to point out and make a statement. Yeah, thank you. A point of it is that if you leave him alone, if you take that turret, you don't do anything off the back of it, then you're going to give him this free farm that he wants, that he needs, and really make him strong when you could have kept him out of the game the entire time.
Yeah, and to be honest, Wolves, they're doing a perfect thing here. They're just rotating around to the next turret. They've taken the middle, they've taken the top. Let's just go down to bottom. There was a decent wave of minions pushing up there. It's going to take Dragonborn's time to rotate themselves around for that one as the equalizer comes down. Yamato cannon gets destroyed though. Jarvan ultimate comes in. There is Dexter falling, and Dragonborns are in all kinds of trouble here. It's a 3 versus 3. Godbro actually has to flash away. Finished off, and Dragonborns turning this one on its head. Svenskeren slices his way through, and the test is now being chased down as well by Hosan and Mover. He should get away, although they both have flash available. There's a smoke screen down. Will we see them flash in to try for a kill? No, they're going to let him go.
Looks like they will push down for that turret and get it on top of that, but that just comes down to composition, because you have 2 major damage dealers on the Wolves side, but you have 3 on Dragonborns. You were able to blow up Yamato cannon right away, but Bjergsen died as well, and it turned into the Test being the only one to sit back and try to do something to the other team, but they were tanking enough. Shushe had the heals, had the damage, and they were able to just plow through the rest of the Wolves.
And that just shows you how, the course of a fight can change. You lose a couple of men early on, but once you've got everyone in there, it can really not be quite so easy. And, we've only got a 300 gold difference now, 200 even if we're being a little bit more exact from that one. 6-5 in kills, 3-3 in turrets. Important game. We talked about this before we got started. It's at bottom of the table. Clash Copenhagen Wolves been bottom, and Dragonborn's been tied there with Giants before we started off the proceedings today. So this is important for both teams going forward. One that honestly, in the grand scheme of things, can't afford to lose.
Yeah, you have to win that, because then if you are in the bottom 2, you are 1 loss away from being knocked out of LCS entirely. I believe Wolves just got their house, and the Dragonborns are getting theirs very soon. And you don't want to get into LCS just to be kicked out a couple of weeks later. But as the game is progressing at this point, Bjergsen, he's finally starting to get a couple of items. He has that Bloodthirster done. And we have to keep in mind that last fight was engaged upon by the Wolves. They're the one that started the fight, and yet they end up losing it in the end anyways. They know they're stronger right now in these team fights, especially if they catch someone, but Dragonborns is able to catch them off guard and just turn it around against them. And that really has to make the Wolves play a little bit passive now, and let Godbro get fired up a little bit more, as he's just excelled it out. I mean, almost 50 CS ahead of Yamato Cannon when he originally had 0 CS, was it 4 or 5 minutes into the game? No, not that late, maybe like 4.
It was 4.
Yeah.
Something like that, around that area, as we are going to see them stood on top of a ward here. Where are they going to go? Godbro gets flung over, but is that really the target that they want to go for? He gets away with the lantern, but look at the damage that Wolves have done in the meantime. Here comes Jarvan, intervention gets put down, but will they be able to go through it? Boxers in position, Dexter goes down, Shushe goes down. Where's the next target? They're going to go in towards Hosan. He's taking a lot of damage, surely will be finished off here. Yamato Cannon suffers the same fate, and the reset to Bjergsen absolutely ripping them to pieces. Quadra kill comes down, and that will be an ace for Copenhagen Wolves, and they've lost just 2 men for the pleasure.
And I believe that's his 3rd quadra now of entirety of LCS. And that just shows you Godbro soaked up so much damage that entire fight. Svenskeren went in deep just to die, but it set up his team to get these kills. But that's what we're talking about with Godbro. If you let him farm, if you let him get the items, he's going to be a nuisance in these fights, and the damage he soaked up probably would have killed him 1.5 times over. But he was able to stay alive, picking up 5 kills right there, a quadra over to Bjergsen. If he didn't have the items he needed before, having another 2,300 gold to spend is just going to make him that much more stronger and that much more harder for Dragonborns to deal with him.
Yeah, he's just gone in there, finished the Man Immune, and picked up a giant spell in there as well to add to that Brutalizer and Bloodthirster that he already had. He is a dangerous Kha'Zix at this point. Now let's have a look at the AD carries here, because there is a bit of a difference between them. Jason, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, we talked about them when they played the first match, about how they're a really relaxed team. Their focus is through relaxation. And to me, they're not really a team driven by losses. They're not going to be like, actually, I take that back. They will lose to a team once, but never again in like that same set. They will always come back and destroy them. Like we saw in Tokyo vs Katowice. Got destroyed by Zubu Blaze in group stage, came back, 2-0'd them, 2-0'd Frost. They're a team like that, where the first game they might lose, but they don't care. they're just so relaxed. They'll come into the next game with like a strategy, a plan, and will just roll over your team.
Well, SK, on the other hand, are another team that feeds on the emotion as the floor stomping continues here. Incredibly loud. I can hardly hear myself think, which is why I tripped over my words. So, anyway, SK Gaming, an emotional team that feed off the energy of themselves, of Ocelot in particular in the middle there, and maybe even more importantly here for them today, from the crowd as well. How's that going to affect them, again, having the crowd behind them?
I think it's like a version 2 of Ocelot. Like, you have him who can pump up his team, you have the crowd who can do it as well. If you have them both going together, the amount of screaming and energy probably in that game would be explosive. It'd probably be like a little mini nuclear bomb in there. But it's going to help out quite a bit, because even if they do get, killed or they get kind of upset, the crowd will be there to cheer them on. We saw, Hercubot, whenever he gets on camera, the crowd goes wild. He gets a little bit of a wink, and some woman out there gets pregnant from that.
You threw me off with that one, actually. Let's have a look at the team sheets from both teams. I think that'll bring us back on track. First of all, for Gambit Gaming here, starting out on the blue side. And they, of course, are going to be Darian, Diamond, Alexic, and Genja. And we're going to pick out our key player right here, right now, and that is going to be Edward, the support. Yeah,
he's really kind of shaped how bot lanes work now in Season 3. He's always been aggressive in Season 2, but in Season 3, it's been like that much better. You've seen Genja finally rise to the occasion, finally start being aggressive, and with both of them finally doing that, it's a really hard lane to go up against. It's really kind of scary. You're really not sure exactly what to do, and of course, we talked about Edward, not afraid to secure a kill or two.
Definitely not afraid. Let's have a look at SK Gaming then, and how they are going to be lining up here. And again, talking about Ocelot, but they, of course, Kevin, Hercubot, Ocelot, Candy Panda, and Nif. Ocelot being our man to watch here. He's got a tough opponent once again in the form of Alexic.
And something that's really interesting about him and about SK in general is he's always been like the rock of the team. Like when he plays well, the entire team plays exceptionally well. Now it's kind of shifted to Kevin, where he's the one that's been the rock of their team. He's the one that's keeping him in the games. We saw him the first couple of weeks, on Olaf being like 5-0 and 2 or something like that. I mean, he was unstoppable. But now it's kind of shifted a little bit. Now it's about Kevin and Hercubot. Hercubot's been creating all these opportunities for them to start, getting some kills with his Jarvan. And then also, who's finally started to adapt. He's changed his champion pool to include Jarvan, to include Zed, a lot more AD carries instead of sticking with the APs. So he should be a really key player in this game, and I'm curious to see if he might actually go back to an AD carry champion to use against Alex.
Well, before we kick off our final encounter for the day, let's take a look at the thoughts of both teams before we get it off.
Gambit is probably the most aggressive team. They're the hardest to beat, but somehow I think people is gonna get how they play.
I think Gambit has a really unequal playstyle. They play a lot of single target damage, and they have really good focus in team fights. And they're also pretty tanky with the picks they do, and they know exactly what is really good in the patches.
At the moment, I think we can outplay them because we're just playing better. I think we can beat them, and I want to show it.
Some interesting statements in that one. Yeah. We can outplay them. Quite a simple one in there. That's a very confident Alexic coming in. I mean, Ocelot, we said in an earlier interview, or in an earlier video feature, that he really likes to be the team to beat. But actually in this game, they're the underdogs coming in against Gambit.
Yeah, very true. But, during that video as well, we heard Nif talk about how he's saying Gambit, they're really good in team fights. They're really good at focusing someone down. We saw how well split pushing worked with Fnatic. I'm curious to see if SK might do the same thing to take them down.
Well, they definitely had time to watch that game going forward as well. I know in the player lounge here, we do have a couple of big screens with the stream on there as well. So there's no doubt that SK will have been watching that one and maybe thinking, we can do the same there. We can do the same kind of thing against Gambit. So that's definitely going to be a thing to watch from this one. But it is our final game of the day and really excited. I mean, SK versus Gambit. This is, again, like Gambit Fnatic, one of those key matchups. And earlier on we were talking about Fnatic versus Gambit is a top-of-the-table clash. SK here can actually close the gap on Gambit for that third spot with a win. That's an important one as well.
Yeah, especially even if you can't get top 2, when you get into that third place, you're playing against ideally the 6th place of the bracket, which, with how good these teams are, it might just give you that little bit of an edge you need to actually win those relegation matches and continue your streak in LCS. So, every win you can pick up now is very crucial. And I remember talking to the teams at the beginning of the season saying, are you really focusing on, the beginning? Are you really giving it your all, giving 100%, trying to get every win? And some teams are like, nah, it's the beginning of the season, not going to worry until, as we get farther in the season. And then some teams like Gambit are like, yeah, we're going to pretty much go all out every single game and try to create that lead, that nice little buffer zone where they can relax towards the end of the season. Even if they they lose a couple of games, they'll still be in the top 2 and not have to worry about relegation.
Yeah, and that's a very good point, actually, is how teams come in. You focus your energy right at the start of the season when, you know, you are more pumped up, you are less tired, you're more relaxed after, you know, getting in there, you've got that excitement to get things started. It's harder to motivate yourself, I think, the longer the season goes on. I think those are the harder games to win when you've already lost a few. I mean, look at the bottom half of the table there. They're going to have to scrap now for every single victory that they get. The teams at the top, I'm not sure if taking your foot off the pedal and relaxing is the right way to put it, because you just quite simply can't do that, because any team here can beat you on their given day. So you've got to keep ready for the action.
And that's the interesting thing, is that as every week progresses, we've seen it happen in teams where they're starting to deteriorate in performance because they're kind of getting tired. You know, they've been, you know, practicing every day of the week and then going into LCS, then going back and practicing every day of the week. They haven't had a little break, and you know, if you put a lot more effort in early on, you don't have to worry about that so much as the entire season progresses.
So we are ready to get into champion select them. Of course, Gambit have first pick on the blue side here this time around, and we've already have Jarvan banned out here by Gambit and Renekton banned by SK Gaming.
So it looks like Gambit want to take Ocelot and Hercubot out of the equation right there with that ban, mostly Hercubot, and then the Renekton taking out Darien, taking him out of his comfort zone. Wow, that crowd is loud. I can't even hear myself talk right now. But so Gambit with the next ban, I wouldn't be surprised to actually see a ban targeted at Ocelot, and then maybe one targeted at Kevin as well, just to kind of weaken their links, their strong chain that they have, which is those 3 members. Candypan and Nif have always been, you know, a good bot lane, but they never done anything amazing, nothing that's...
I wouldn't agree with you on that.
Well, I mean, they've always been, like, solid. They've never been, in my opinion, they've never really been super aggressive or really created plays for the team. And
you're 81% of Nif being involved in all kills before this game, and the crescendos in the first 5 weeks that Nif was hitting left, right, and center over every wall. You are a victim, Jason, of not giving supports enough credit.
I mean, lane phase.
Bad.
That's what I'm talking about, lane phase.
Oh, well, you didn't say that, did you?
That's what I'm referring to, is the lane phase.
Okay, let's make it up as we go along then. Shen, second ban coming out here for SK Gaming. Volibear banned out by Gambit. Obviously not in Diamond's plans this time around, more for the fact that they've got something else for the first pick and maybe don't want that to go over to SK in their first round.
Elise is still available right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see that taken out. We see Hercubot actually has played that quite a bit. We could still play in the mid lane as well. That's a champion that I think Alex plays, but obviously not Diamond or Darien too much, so maybe they won't take it out, but that's definitely one champion they're kind of looking at, as they do take out Darius instead, which I think we have seen Darien play before, but kind of surprising to see that as a targeted ban.
Yeah, Darien has played Darius, which is always kind of a good ban for us, because, well, for me, I'm just going to get totally confused with that as per usual. But the first pick here for Gambit, with Volibear banned out, is the kind of next go-to champion these days of Diamondprox, the Nasus.
And I think SK might go for Elise here, or they might go for Xin, which Xin hasn't really been that strong of a jungler lately. He kind of just fell out of favor over, I believe it was week 4 and week 3, actually mostly week 4. But out of this lineup, we haven't really seen Hercubot run anything with, you know, without Volibear, without Jarvan, and without Nasus available. It's mostly just been Elise and Vi, but we haven't seen Vi's in, I believe, 2 weeks now.
Oh, Jax.
Oh, wow.
See, I'm still not sold on Jax right now. I'm still not sold on Jax.
Yeah, we saw Darien playing him in the Intoxication Masters World Championships against Azubu Frost, I want to say? Well, sorry, CJ Entis, Blaze, or Frost, one of the teams, I can't remember off the top of my head, and he did not perform well. And I agree with you, Jax just doesn't seem to have gotten as strong as other champions did with the new items release, but I guess we will see how that goes. It also always could potentially be a jungle Jax, potentially.
Potentially as well. Obviously they left Thresh open there. The Thresh Prince may make an appearance here for us today with Edward, of course. And Misfortune, who is another go-to champion for Genja, has been very strong over the course of the LCS, and even before that here with MF as well.
Okay, well, we're seeing Thresh locked in. It kind of makes me want to think, since they took away Lulu, that they potentially might go for Zed on Ocelot, because Lulu helps counter that a little bit by giving that extra buffer of health. So that might be a champion they're going to go with here to blow up Diamondprox. Always runs that Ghost Cleanse, so you always have the potential to go for him right away. And then also, an AD carry, maybe a Caitlyn. Candypan has also been playing some Graves as well, and maybe an Ezreal, but the team they have, I would say Caitlyn would be nice, because you have that Caitlyn Lulu combo for pushing lanes, and you also have that protection by being really far away from the Thresh hooks.
We've seen him playing Twitch as well earlier on in the LCS. That's something that's always going to be available to him.
We don't need to bring him up.
Why not?
So, SK with their pick still, 30 seconds left, Joe. And you can look at it like that, a little bit awkward. I'm pretty sure everyone at home knows why I don't want to talk about Twitch. As we do see Graves being sat on.
Okay, so Vi and Graves looking like the possibilities here for SK, and they will be locked in.
I've never really been impressed with Hercule Vi, though. I mean, it has really strong early presence, and with the Jax, they have a decent combo because Vi wants to dive into the back line. You have Jax follow up with a counter-strike on top of that, but I've never been really just sold on his Vi just yet. We do see on the other side, Zed was left open. We've seen Alex play it before, and we also saw Elise being sat on as well. Edward, such a troll, but those honestly could be two champions we might see locked in here. Might see a top lane Elise and a Zed mid lane, or even Darien, which I don't remember if he plays Zed, but it always is one of those champions he could.
Yeah, and he actually was on Tryndamere there as well, which will not be a choice.
No more AP Tryns.
Pretty sure about that one. But at least definitely a one to go to, possibly. As they wait on this final pick, you can see that Edward very focused in, and Gambit, like you said, and like we've always talked about, that they will lose one game in a day, but usually not more than that. There's Kha'Zix, of course, still left open here. We pretty much forgot to mention him throughout this one, but we know how good Alex is on Kha'Zix. Darien didn't quite impress me so much on Kha'Zix in that last game, though.
He did play it, though, 2 times at MLG against KT Roster B. I don't remember if he did actually a great job, but, you know, Darien's always one of those players which he can really excel at champions. I think if he didn't play well on Kha'Zix at first, I think he's really going to show us something here if he does actually run him, because he still have the Elise. We're not sure exactly where the two will be going, but I guess we'll find out as they do get into game. But SK with their last pick, they need a mid at this point. They still have Zed available, but with Gambit kind of sitting on it at first and then not picking him, makes me think that they might potentially be baiting SK into it if they go for it.
Well, let's see. Twisted Fate was a champion which Fnatic used earlier on to take down Gambit, and SK gonna lock it in as well. So we'll see how Ocelot's Twisted Fate can match up to that of Xpeke, which was quite sublime. He did everything right in that last game.
Yeah, it really did. And that was how they picked apart Gambit. It was just strictly that split pushing. We've had teams talk about Fnatic before saying they have phenomenal split pushing. I mean, Xpeke, he's known for backdooring ever since until Extreme Masters Katowice now, and he really showed why Twisted Fate is such a good champion against Gambit.
So we've got the two lineups locked in here, Jason. Who are you favoring?
Well, I'm trying to think it through in my head, and the Jax, I'm still not. I have to agree with that. I'm really not convinced him as a champion, a competitive champion in Season 3. I've always loved him, though, Jax as a champion, but there's really no solid front line for SK. So if anyone does get into the backside when you have a Kha'Zix to get there, or you have an Elise to get there, it's going to create a really huge problem for them. I think overall just composition, by having an auto tech champion like Graves with a Nasus who can wither him, will really shut him down. So I think in the end I'll have to give it over to Gambit.
Well, Alex actually just dropped out of the game there right at the end. I'm not sure if they just had a little bit of a bug switching champions there, because they did have fail swap last second, says Hercule, but they had Nasus in the top lane and Kha'Zix in the jungle, so I guess they wanted to just fix that one up. I'm going to see them just leave the game to make sure that they're in the right place, and Alex just saying, yep, he couldn't swap with Darien, so they make sure that that's all fixed. Obviously we want them playing the champions that they should be playing, and we are going to be able to kick this one off here again. Obviously they'll go quickly through those ban and pick phases, but I would tend to agree with you on this one. I think that Gambit right now, they're going to be looking to bounce back, and that's always a powerful thing, which in the past they've done a great job of. They've always done well. You know, losing a game, which obviously sounds wrong, they've done well losing a game, but they've lost a game, they've gone off stage, they've sat down and talked about it, and they come back stronger, always.
Well, the belt came out, obviously, and that really whipped them into shape. But yeah, I mean, Gambit, they're always a team like that. Like, I feel like it might sound bad, but they've always been a team to kind of troll you in online matches. Like in online tournaments, they never seem to really show their full potential. They kind of save it for offline. So when they do lose to someone, they kind of look at that match, and if they play them again, you know, either offline or offline, they really just stomp them in a one-sided match. And we've seen these two teams match up before, and Gambit won that when they originally fought. I am really curious to see if they're going to go for a lane swap as well when they have a Jax on the other team. Because we know Jax as one of those champions where if he farms up, like if you leave him alone, he farms, he become very deadly. But if you do a 2v1 against him, he kind of gets shut down really hard.
Yeah, and just to note here, I mean, Diamondprox has still got a cheeky little smile on his face throughout all this, but Alex looks a lot more serious than we've seen him in previous other games as well. So we'll see exactly what's been done here in the Gambit team to get things going. There's Candy Panda about to appear on your screen. And he, as ever, looks pretty chilled. Him and Nif always just sat there at the end. Don't look like there's a trouble in the world that can bother them. And, you know, as such, bring that to game. Always very, very solid. With some outstanding plays as well, Jason.
Yes, Joe. In the team fights, it's outstanding plays indeed. I'm actually curious if that little panda has candy inside it, like a little pinata. But I'm pretty sure it'd be mad if someone opened that up. But Darien, actually, it was recently his birthday. I believe he turned 22 about 2 days ago.
I thought it was yesterday.
Oh, it was yesterday? Okay.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware. I may be wrong on that one, but you're definitely right if it wasn't yesterday, then within the last few days at least. So we are going to get both teams finally locking themselves back into this one. I'm interested to see how things go. Gambit on the back of a loss looking to bounce back. SK looking to close the gap on them here in second place. SK, of course, currently the third place team in the LCS Europe, which will have only been boosted after their earlier win today. And it's currently 9-3 and 9-6. That has been updated, actually, today already. So we'll have to see. I mean, it could bring SK to 10-6, bring Gambit down to 9-4 if they actually win, which, my maths, Jason?
Yeah, I believe SK would still maintain third place, but still, it makes its point where they're getting that much closer to being in that safe zone, and every team is fighting for that. All those top 4 teams are crawling and craving that, and the bottom 4 teams are really just trying to hope not to be the bottom 2, because they don't want to be one loss away from being knocked out.
So one interesting thing that we had earlier was no teleport being used against Twisted Fate. Now, some people would say that's an instant mistake there, not to have the ability to follow Twisted Fate around the map. Alexic, again, not going to go for that one this time with Kha'Zix.
We heard Stupid talk about this on the analysis desk after that game, and the thing is, if you're running against a Twisted Fate, if you're not going to run teleport, you want to run a very quick engage team. And I believe with the combo they have that perfectly. You could have that Thresh Hook land, you have Elise repel in, you have, you know, the Nasus Wither followed by the damage out of Kha'Zix, the bullet time out of Misfortune. So I think they have a combo to kind of counter that if they can force these fights. But if SK gets a decent disengage, it's really going to create a lot of problems for Gambit and allow Oslo to split push.
So here we go then, in towards the game. It's Gambit versus SK Gaming, our final game of day 1 here in Lille at the Zenith Arena. Jason, talk us through level 1 and any possibilities.
Well, level 1, just looking at it in my little bit of a thought process going on, we do see Kevin down towards the bottom side of the map. I don't really believe SK can be one of those teams right now with what they have to go for level 1 engage or go for a level 1 pressure. Jax doesn't really do too much besides a counter-strike, which if he takes level 1, might cause him a little bit of problems, especially if he gets ganked early on. And over on Gambit's side, they have a decent team for invading, but they've never really been a team to do that. They've always been a team just to protect their own jungle, never to really be super aggressive right off the bat. But as the game does progress, they start to really get comfortable, really start to invade the enemy jungle, and really create these plays.
We've already seen a couple of sightings and shots exchange there. That was Genji just trying to push Kevin away. So it's looking like we are going to see that lane swap coming out this time of SK Gaming. What do you think to that one? Putting the Graves Lulu up against an Elise and having that Jax in a 1 versus 2 lane against Misfortune and Thresh, which may actually change by the looks of things anyway.
I think Jax is not going to have a great time down there if he is ending up in a 1v2 situation. I mean, 1v1, he shouldn't be able to beat Elise anyways because of that harass Elise can put out, that percent damage you do. Not to mention when you have that spider form, you're very strong early on because you don't have that ultimate. You don't have to, pick it up as a spell. You'd have to go 1v1, but still, even then, he won't do too well. I mean, pretty much he's screwed either way he goes, in my opinion. I mean, you have to look at it because he can't do a 1v2, and he can't really go head-to-head against Darien unless he gets a lot of camping from Hercubot.
Well, right now we can see that 80 carries here of Gambit, 80 carries. You could probably call Edward one of them as well, with his thresh, I guess. They've just done the Wolves, going to head up to that top lane, and the same for SK. Lady Golems just helping out Hercubot there with the red buff. On the other side, Jax did start Wolves with the help of Twisted Fate, and also Nasus is already on his way here onto the top side of the jungle for Gambit.
We do see, wow, actually Kevin being very aggressive in the bot lane, making Darien back up because he did hit level 2 early. He was able to apply a lot of pressure that you can do when you get that level advantage over your counterpart. Darien wasn't able to pick up the double golems, if I'm not mistaken, and because of that, he's paying the price a little bit. We did see the red pop popped on Kevin as well, and we now see both junglers taking their blue buffs here. And Hercubot, you're Vi, you're very good early on for these ganks. You put out a lot of damage, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see him go for a gank, within the next minute.
Yeah, on the blue buff side now. Could come around on towards Kha'Zix here, as we see in the top lane. Damage already being exchanged. Nothing more than that coming with that one. But talk us through this this lane, because it's an interesting one, obviously, with the hooks coming into play there, the slows coming out of Lulu. Who's got the advantage at this stage of the game between Graves and the Misfortune lane?
Well, MF, she's always a strong champion pre-6. She has that stacking damage from Imperial Shot. She has a double up to give you another auto attack in there. She should be able to compete with damage against SK for now. But when SK finally hits that level 6, you see Graves get his collateral damage. You see Lulu get her ultimate to, help keep Candy Panda alive. They should be able to kind of counter it back and normalize a little bit. But I think around, I have to say, level 3 or 4, you're going to see Gambit be a little bit aggressive here and really force SK to back off.
Oh, this could be very interesting. We see Alex jumping in there. Diamond actually is going to put down the Wither. He'd use Ghost as they're going on towards Hercubot, but have they got the damage to finish him off? Alex going to flash over there. His first blood. They may keep going. They can slow Ocelot down. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, Genja will cleanse off the exhaust. Can he finish off? They flash in. Candy Panda flashes out. Ocelot did walk away there, withered down. Well, that will be first blood going over. Either way to Gambit into Alexic on Kha'Zix. He's got double buffs. He is now a very, very scary man.
Yes, walking away with that is just going to be so devastating. Also, no flash anymore, so Alex has the ability to jump right on top of him as long as he doesn't have that gold color available to throw at him. And with the double buffs, the harass he's going to put out, the red buff, just the pure damage he's going to do is really going to screw Ocelot over as the game goes on. Because also, he wants to get some ganks off. He wants to create some opportunities for his team, but if he gets set behind like this, he's not going to hit level 6 early enough, and his counterpart is going to be so dangerous that if he does leave his lane, he's going to lose a turret, or he actually will lose his own life if he stays on.
Well, let's see Ocelot coming into that one. This bottom lane, just to quietly recap now, on 22-17 TS. Darien starting to boss Kevin a little in this lane now, and look at the difference in experience there. Darien up to level 5 to the level 3 of Kevin, so he definitely needs to watch out. He's just hit level 4 in there, so not quite bad of the 2 levels. He's going to get cocooned up there underneath the turret, and Darien is quite happy to harass there out of range of the tower.
Yeah, Kevin, he's having a tough time farming, but at least he is keeping up quite well. I mean, 21 and 26 isn't bad at all, especially when you're against a ranged champion in that bottom lane. We do have Hercubot sitting inside that Baron pit. Looks like he wants to create something up towards his top side. I'm pretty sure they did not spot that ward going down, so if he does go in for it, he will be spotted. Doesn't have flash available either, so Gambit could turn this around against him.
Gambit halfway up the lane. We see Edward and Genja both headed back from this one. That's going to send Hercubot packing straight away. He knew that they'd been spotted from that one. Just good timing coming out of Gambit for that one. Interested to see whether we get any Lantern ganks, getting that Nasus right in there to get the Wither down and then finish off things. In the bottom lane, Jax, with all that farm underneath the tower, has brought himself back to win 2 or 3 difference. He's actually looking to go home, though, with what he's got right now. Obviously, Doran's Blade plus a ward for him. Darien with the Crystalline Flask plus health pots. Alexic, we should touch on him because he obviously got that first blood and the double bust with it. Longsword, boots, and a few pots in there as well.
And if you've, take a look at middle lane just for a little bit in a second, you will notice that he's
Here's the gank. Here's the Lantern gank coming in for us there. Diamond comes around the side. Can they get in onto Nif? He is withered up. There is the ward going down as well. He's going to be very low. He flashes away. Can they finish off? Not quite. They've turned away from it. And Nif just about surviving.
Very good gank right there. So you see Alex going head-to-head against Ocelot here. And the point I was trying to make is that Alex has been zoning him quite a bit. When he had those double buffs up, Ocelot was forced to stay back, actually sit over towards the top side of the middle lane near the Wraith camp when not even taking it, because he could not do anything against Alex. And hopefully be able to get back in the game here. It's a great top lane gank coming out of Gambit as well, blowing that flash.
This makes no sense in the top lane. Hercubot is going in there through the bush, and they put a ward right on top of Nif's head. In that last fight, they saw that ward go down. And look, Diamond coming in here. They're going to try and react to this one. Hercubot may just face check straight into him here. There goes the Spirit Fire in. Well, it was missed, to be honest with you. Diamond going straight through, though, and he may end up getting himself caught out here. Graves coming in from the side. There's the buckshot. Hercubot goes in, but Diamond walks away.
That actually makes me wonder, because you're right, they did. Oh, see, actually, Alex going heading. It's also on the mid lane.
Yeah, Darian in this bottom lane is in trouble as well, but in the middle, as you said, there is a kill going to come in. Knight is down onto Elise. Darian won't die from that one, though. That leaves Gambit at 2-1, and, well, I think he's fine with that, Alex. Going 1-for-1, you know, picking up the Brutalizer in there. He's got a 10 CS lead. Seeker's Arm Guard. Great item for Twisted Fate, honestly, going up against this Kha'Zix in the middle. Going to allow him to get up towards that Zhonya's later as well.
It's actually really, I was surprised to see Alex go for that, because he did get stunned under the turret. He used the Ignite, ended up getting the kill, but it didn't seem like a trade worth it in the end. He will at least deny Ocelot a little bit of CS in the mid lane, who Ocelot is now level 6, actually headed up towards his top, so you might see a gank happen right here. And they are starting to be aggressive on Genja. He's walking in, and this should be a gank. Genja does have Cleanse get away, but he's not really healthy at this point.
Here we go, Twisted Fate coming in there. Where is the stun going to come from there? In on towards Genja. Doesn't even bother to use a cleanse. He knows he's not getting away. Edward going to be exhausted as well. Can they get in? There's the Ignite down, but Edward himself will be able to, with the help of a flash, escape their range. Hercubot actually is on the blue buff right now, and he's going to actually take that.
That was actually a great play. I had to rewatch that fight again just really quickly, because I was like, why didn't he cleanse? He could have gotten away, but
couldn't have.
But Candy Panda positioned himself in between the Lantern and Thresh, so if he did hit that, if he did pop the cleanse and hit the Lantern, he would have been caught anyways by Candy. So it's a good job of him in the end to actually save that and not kind of committed away. But that was still a great gank by Ocelot right there. He saw it, or actually came in there, and that's what he has to do. If he keeps getting these ganks on, he's going to give himself a nice little bit of a lead and give his lanes an advantage. As we see Hercubot, he's waiting on the sideline here against Darien. He has the ultimate available, but I'm not sure they have the damage to actually take Darien down.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, with that Doran shield in there as well. Giving him a nice time. He doesn't have flash available, though. But has that been communicated through the SK ranks that there is no flash on Elise? Hercubot is still there. He's still thinking about going in for this one. Ocelot's destiny is about halfway done, and here we go, Counter-Strike going to go off. Here comes the Assault on Battery, slamming Darien into the ground. They'll knock him back. The Repel comes in. Where is he going to come down?
Nowhere.
Right behind them. He is going to be falling surely from this one. It's a kill for Kevin.
Great job by SK there to pick that up. As we see the bullet time pops on top, and Genja's running away from Candy Panda, but shouldn't really be able to kill him in the end.
No, not able to get that final damage. I mean, if Nif had got in there for a bit more, then possibly would have gone in with the collateral damage to finish off as well, but that didn't happen. SK have a kill lead, have actually 100 gold lead as well. Dragon is available, but with Hercubot being low and having those double buffs, of course, he didn't give that blue buff over to Twisted Fate this time around. He has decided to go home. Don't want to give them away, that's for sure. Oh, Ocelot here in the middle, as we almost miss out on that one. Alexic going to go right in on top of him, finishes off with a Void Spikes. Alex takes a big amount of hits from the turret, but as I said, Hercubot was on that side of the jungle. He went home.
That was such a lucky Void Spike right there. It went like round a minion just to hit Ocelot in the face and go for that kill right there. But now with him being dead, they have that potential to go for Dragon. You mentioned it is up, and there's nothing SK can do about this without having Ocelot available. Hercubot's just going to sit mid lane and farm. He won't be able to stop this.
Yeah, nice turnaround there. And that will extend, I say extend Gambit's lead. They will bring them back into the lead at 14.2 to 13.4 thousand. Let's have a look down the CS here. We've not done that for a little while. Graves actually 10 ahead. At this point, now you can see gold 3,000 to 2,800. So advantage Candy Panda there in the middle lane. 1,000 gold lead for Alexic on top of that 30 CS. In the solo lanes, Elise versus Jax, 63 to 54 for Jax, and a 400 gold lead with that. We have seen Elise change now towards his top lane as Diamondprox just going to be dodging away there from Hercubot, who decides not to follow up.
And a little bit of interesting change on Gambit's side, as you notice, Darien now is in that top lane, and we do have Genja and Edward at the bottom. A little bit interesting because Darien had the advantage in that bottom lane, but with that kill going over to Kevin, was able to force him out. And now we're going to have actually Kevin head up towards that top side. They don't want to let them give them a lane that they want to go up against, so they're trying to counter that by switching this up. And I think even though Genja had that early kill over to Candy Panda, or sorry, not over to Candy Panda, over to Fate, they weren't able to win the lane, which is kind of surprising to me.
Hercubot actually coming around the side here, up at the top, but in the meantime, Candy Panda in trouble. Will flash away, but he was hit by the box. Can he escape it? Bullet time comes through. Genja picks up the kill, and actually Wild Growth was put down on Nif there. He meant to put it on Candy Panda.
And just us talking about Genja and Edward not winning that lane up topside when they already had that gank. They come back, get up a big kill on the Candy Panda, and should be able to get this turret off of that as well. And they are starting to lengthen their gold lead just a little bit longer.
Wow, Alex actually diving under Ocelot here, right underneath the turret. Can he get the finisher? Stun card going to come through. Alex goes down. What a move by SK.
And that was with Hercubot actually failing to flash over the wall to try to save him. That's a great play by Hercubot there to turn that around. And Alex, he's getting very cocky in the mid lane. It's a little bit surprising. I mean, the aggression's working out for him, but with 2 deaths now like that, it's going to hurt him quite a bit.
Yeah, they're probably deaths that he didn't really need to give away, to be honest with you. The advantage may have been a little bit less, but then you have Twisted Fate without those two, without one of those 2 kills, and Vi without one as well, which has certainly helped them in the grand scheme of this one. Let's have a look at the gold then. It's not far off it in a 2,000 lead for the Russians. 13 minutes in, we're all tied on kills. Gambit do have that 1-0 turret lead and may get a good amount of damage down onto what is already a half HP out turret at top.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they're going to start grouping up towards that top side, push that turret down, then switch over to middle, really take the momentum of the game and keep it in their pocket, because SK needs that momentum. They thrive off of it. And by taking that away, you will deny them quite a bit. We still have Diamondprox sticking over towards this top side of the map. It doesn't matter when Darien does end up backing either way. We have the AD carry, or not AD carry, we have Edward and Alexich actually in the middle lane right now, pushing it in, and Nif is supporting Ocelot here. So it looks like the AD carries might go head-to-head over towards the bottom lane.
Yeah, and honestly, right now, that would be in favor of Misfortune. BF Sword, Pickaxe, Vamp Scepter, Doran's Blade to the Pickaxe and the Vamp Scepters. We are going to see them coming in on towards Alex, who may be in trouble himself. Ocelot comes around here, actually doesn't have the stun card available. There's the Lantern, and Alex pulled to safety. Destiny down, that could be a big thing for Gambit.
Yeah, it was a great play by Alex right there. He didn't actually jump in right on top of Candy Panda. He wanted to wait. We see Kevin actually Darien going head-to-head up here. It looks like Darien might be able to pick up the kill.
Yeah, Repel comes in. Where's the Cocoon going to come out of Darien? He's got a lot of work to do and actually just dives in onto him with the Spiderlings. And that is a nice kill back, and considering, I think Darien's just been waiting for that kill, you know, just biding his time. He got ganked down at the bottom to lose the first one after doing so well, and now he pulls it one back.
And this is the point where we say we weren't really convinced about Jax. He had the early advantage, but he just got 1v1 basically right there by Darien. And Jax, I mean, he's going to get stronger as the game progresses, but so is everyone else, and the utility that everyone else provides is really going to be dangerous. We do see a mid lane gank happening here as Diamond does get cupcaked.
Wow, they're going to dive in towards Ocelot again, who they pull it, time comes through. Ocelot taking a lot of damage, but the stun card's going to come down onto Genja. He's not in the turret range here, as the Lantern is thrown out there by Threshold, knock Candy Panda back and keep those 2 men alive.
In the meantime, Darien is pushing up that top side. That turret getting very low. Looks like it will be going down here very shortly. Yeah. And Gambit going to back off either way in the middle. They have created that nice pressure in the mid lane, allowing Darien to go up there and secure that turret, give them a little bit of extra gold. And Alex, he wasn't forced into that tier early on because he got that double buffs. He was able to go right into Brutalizer, go right into a BF Sword to really pressure Ocelot. You're seeing that in the farm right now, you're seeing that in the kills and assists, and he's really been able to shut him down, really keeping Ocelot in that mid lane, not allowing him to roam around and create these kills for the rest of his team.
Alex just came back in there. We saw the Void Spikes going down as Edward swings the hook around. I think he must have gone for one there on towards Vi, but realistically it wasn't going to do a lot after dragging him in there. But one thing that we are seeing is Jax having a bit of time alone, and we all know how dangerous that is once this Jax really gets into the groove of things. Got that Cutlass ready to go. See him moving up towards that Blade of the Ruin King. There is Genja down at the bottom, and honestly, I think Kevin could have him here.
If he wants to commit to it, but Darien is coming up the lane right now.
Definitely not, but
yeah. And it's, I mean, Jax, okay, in Season 2, he was one of those champions that was able to really get farmed up and really was able to become a force to reckon with if you left him alone. But in Season 3, he lost that power. We do see Alex actually might get caught right now.
Yeah, this was so smart from Kevin. He's actually seen where they're coming from via that ward in the river there. So he looped all the way through the Tribush, went up the backside. SK tried to come in there and join him, but it looks like Gambit may want to close in on this middle lane as well. We've got Dragon coming up in 4 seconds. Edward at the front looking to swing the chain around and grab someone in there. Gambit just back away. They've seen Graves in that top lane. They'll say thank you very much. We'll have Dragon.
Yeah, they had a choice between going for that turret and going for that Dragon. Might as well take that away from SK right now. And then they always could go for that push. We do have Candy Panda finally able to get some damage onto that turret, but Alex is there responding anyways. And they're pretty much doing what Fnatic did to them last game. They're preventing SK from getting any turrets. They're doing a great job by reading the enemy team and preventing that from happening.
Yeah, we have 2-0. And as you said, Fnatic didn't allow any turrets for Gambit in that one. I think they ended with 0 turrets,
I think so,
right?
yeah.
Overall, great performance, but Gambit here going to take down the third and final outer turret. Now, this is the situation that Gambit have found themselves in before. What generally will happen now is they'll get in towards the jungle, get those wards down, and just start to really strangle SK in there, get a couple of picks off in their jungle as well, and that's when it becomes really, really dangerous now for SK.
Especially when you're a team like this that requires the farm. I mean, Twisted Fate, you're going to need that farm. You have to split push and get that CS, get that gold income. Jax, you're going to need the farm to really be a force to reckon with as the game progresses as well, and Candy Panda. So as long as you keep strangling them like you were saying, they're going to fall farther and farther behind, and by taking these objectives away, by making sure that Dragon's taken every time, by applying some pressure into these turrets, you're forcing the entire team of SK to respawn and to really react to you and prevent that turret from going down, deny them even more farm. And the way it's going, if Gambit can keep this up, it looks like they might have another victory, well, their first victory of the day in their pocket.
Yeah, SK trying to kind of combat what may be coming next with plenty of wards of their own down here on that river side, but you can see already Alex is getting in position to dive on top of Candy Panda, and he's going to meet him here right in the side of that brush. Can he get the kill onto him though? He's already used those void spikes, goes in there, exhaust comes down and wisely saves that jump in case he needed to get away, which is exactly what he needed to do from that one. But will that leave this inner turret now a little bit exposed? We've got Diamond, Genja and Darian coming in as the bullet time comes across the side. It's not done too much damage, but Ocelot gets caught in there. He will get a wild growth onto him. The repel was used by Darian, but the assault and battery comes in, and Darian is going to drop from this one. Flash away, but Hercubot, here comes Alex from the side. He's getting the resets. Two of them jumps away. Double kill, triple kill coming out for Alex Ich. Amazing play. They're tanking up the turret here. Diamond will be safe though. And what amazing stuff there from Gambit. Bullet time from one side, Kha'Zix from the other. SK didn't know what hit him. And
the funny thing was that bullet time was used just to zone them away, but because they ate enough damage, because they got enough chunk onto each member of SK, Alex was able to come in from the side, pick those up one by one, keep jumping as much as possible, and overall just Gambit phenomenal. That's exactly what they needed to do. And funny enough, we saw them play against Fnatic, and they didn't have momentum. Fnatic took it, they were the aggressors, but this time, they're being the ones doing it. They're not allowing SK to get that position to really force the fights against them, and they're taking these fights easily.
Yeah, Alex Ich saying, Darian, this is how you play Kha'Zix. This is how you do it, and he's doing a brilliant job of it right now. 6-2-1. How much gold does he have, actually, right now? He's sat... okay, pretty much none, so he obviously went back, but good job we looked at the gold anyway, because Genja sat on 2,700 right now. He's going to come back from his next shopping trip a much stronger Misfortune. Actually is at home in the base right now, and has picked up, in a matter of seconds, Bloodthirster and Last Whisper in one trip. That's a big spike.
Yeah, and you have to look at his counterpart, Candy Panda. He has no item completed, so if Gambit forces fights right now, the damage difference is just ridiculous. Like, Candy Panda won't be able to do anything that Genja will be able to do, especially with the bullet time on top of that, but they're just so far ahead of items. They have double Bloodthirsters, one on Alex, one on the Genja. Even have the Haunting guys and the Giant's Belt on Darren right now, so if he's going to dive into the backside, he can tank up even more damage. And we have Blade of the Rune King as the first completed item for Kevin. No one else on his team has a completed item besides the Luck of the Iron Solar and Hercubot. Not one completed item.
Now, apparently we have a keyboard issue with one of the players. Doesn't look to me like it's one of the SK players, to be honest. I think
Alex broke his keyboard with all the jumping because he was so excited. He's like spamming that key, jump, jump, jump.
I think it was Edward, actually. He was the one with his headphones off. Got the admin there behind him, so seems like that will be fixed. Alex just saying, sorry, are you ready to go? So we're going to jump back into the game then. Let's take a bit of a look at where we are in the game. 20.5 minutes in, 9-5 in kills for Gambit. 31.4 to 25.6 thousand gold in the lead, plus 3 turrets in there. They are flying right now. SK need to have a turnaround in this game.
Yeah, speaking of that, we talked about it in the pre-match that if they need some momentum, they need to get from the crowd right now. They're gonna have to start giving them some sort of energy because they're just falling further and further behind at this point. We do see the Destiny actually used, but it's just to give them the vision. They're not exactly sure where everyone else is on the map. That Baron is always a potential pickup right now for Gambit, especially with that Elise. That percent damage you do is ridiculous, not to mention how fed they are at this point as well.
Yeah, pretty fed. I mean, 6-2-1 on Kha'Zix is the obvious outstanding one there. 2-1-3 on Misfortune. They're actually level on CSC AD carries, as we are seeing Nif getting caught out there by Darian. It shows you the damage he can put in. And speak of the devil, Baron has been started now by the Russians. There's no Destiny available to reveal that one, and I'm not sure that SK know about it. We've got Darian, who's basically just zoning them completely away from it. We will have Jax coming in from the backside, but he'll be too late. Darian is going to go down. Ocelot here trying to get the stun card off. There's the repel. He dives straight into him. Assault and Barrier will save him for about a half second. Darian now trying to run slow by the Glitterlands, but here comes Gambit. Here comes Alex around the side. Wild Growth was used there. Elise did die in the process. Bullet Time can't quite catch the kills. Alex is still chasing in. Diamond isn't finished here either. They're going to keep going for this one. Wither goes on to Candy Panda. There is another kill. That will be a 2-for-1. What may be more importantly, it's going to free up this inner turret in that middle lane. Diamond not really bothered about tanking the turret up now. That middle inner will go down.
Such a great play by Darian, the entirety of that. He kept him off of Baron. He kept him thinking, well, they're not going for Baron. We'll just chill back and do whatever we need to. But was able to take Ocelot down with that. Was able to bait the rest of SK in right there for his team to pick up another kill. We do see the hook actually land on Kevin. And if you notice in that last fight, Alex just chunked the hell out of Kevin. He just got destroyed from a couple of attacks. And you need Kevin to be that tanky front line with Vi. And they just don't have it at this point.
Well, it's not easy. He's got Blade of the Ruin King, and that's about it. As the hook comes out, actually was thrown to the bottom side there towards Ocelot. As Inhibitor turret is down. Inhibitor itself will follow straight after this one. I'll tell you what, Candy Panda needs to be a little bit careful there in the position that he's in. Are we going to see Vi go? Yes, for Diamond, but misses out in the end. And it looks like Gambit are going to be quite successful and happy about that push there, and we'll just back away. As I say that, they're not really backing that far away. It looks like they're going to go for inner turret on the top lane again, playing it by the book.
And speaking about being happy, they're sitting on quite a bit of gold as well on top of this, so when they do back, getting another power spike on top of this. But with this Baron buff up, having all 5 members now on towards this top side, they want to be aggressive, they want to go for it, they want to get another inhibitor off of this.
I saw that Diamond just come into the forefront again, using that lantern. We saw him do it up in that top lane. Where are they going to go in? Nif down to half HP there, just from the Void Spikes coming out from Alex Ich. And it does so much damage, to be honest, and that's without him really jumping right in on top of you and really unloading. Well, let's see. Gambit wait here on the stairs. The stairs to victory, maybe. And this one.
Steps to victory.
Would be the second inhibitor turret of the game, as Nif actually going to get pulled in here. Wild Growth put on himself as the box go down. Edward may die here. Bullet Time has been a good one, though. It will be a kill apiece. Are they going to go further and go for Ocelot? Yes, they are. Flash from Alex Ich. Flash from Ocelot gets him out of danger, and the turret will go down. They'll stay and take the inhibitor itself here, and they've got super minions coming in. Gambit could finish the game off right here. Darian already getting himself in onto that first inhibitor turret. Genja is hammering away on it as well. Doesn't want to get himself stunned up there by Ocelot on the top side, but the minions coming in. Gambit decides it's probably time to spend a little bit of money, because Nasus 2,300, 2,100 for Alex Ich, 2,600 there for Genja on Misfortune. They're going to come back with even more pain.
And in that last fight, we just saw how far SK was behind. Hercubot had to use his ultimate on Edward just to go for the kill on him. He's not the ideal target, and yet they barely picked that up. That is not what you want to see out of SK right now with their current setup. We do have the Random Owen picked up on Alex. We have the Lock of the Iron Solari done on Diamondprox and a Runic Bulwark done. They're looking so strong. Darian overextended again, but that's Darian.
That is Darian. He's actually going to go in towards Candy Panda there, and, well, he's dead. Interesting decision there, but obviously he does that a lot, Darian.
Yeah, he does.
He's a very, very confident player, and honestly, just one like that's probably not going to lose you the game in the grand scheme of things.
It's worked out for him well so far by, you know, taking out Ocelot in that last little engage we saw in the mid lane, but yeah, a little bit too far overextending right there.
Yeah, I mean, if Graves was further up the lane, then yeah, could have got him. But the fact is, that walled there, and they reacted to it nicely. SK are pushed out, coming up on towards that third and final inhibitor turret. Genja still hasn't been back to spend what is now 3,000 gold that he's sat on. Obviously feels like the extra damage just probably not worth it at this point. I can keep going. There is the ulti coming out of Ocelot. Assault and Battery coming in on towards Alex H. Ocelot going to come in towards the back. There is the bullet time coming down as they turn the tide here. Hercubot going very low. He's going to be finished off. Where's the jump? There is Alex H. Gets himself the double. There's the triple. Can he get the quadra here? No, the exhaust comes down. Well, they're just going to focus in onto the Nexus turret. Surely we've got the super minions in there. They're chasing Ocelot here. They want those kills at the end, and they are going to keep going. They really are going for those kills at the end. Wither comes down onto Ocelot. He will die. Let's get back to the base, because Gambit are going to be finishing this one up here. Or do they just want to farm those minions? It's all about the other stats in there as well. The Nexus is, though, going to go down, and Gambit Gaming are going to take down SK here at week 6 of the European LCS here in Lille, France.
Well played by Gambit. Just pretty much brush off that first game against Fnatic. Even trying to go for the KDAs. Last time these two teams met, they said to us after that they were trying to let the game go on just to get the kills on the Candy Panda. Hopefully get Edward up there in the KDA and actually surpass him, but we're able to do that in this game. But either way, that was a very one-sided match, Joe, I have to say.
Well, Gambit have done a fantastic job, that's all I can say about it. I mean, losing out to Fnatic earlier on, you can't afford to go 2 for 0, or 0 for 2 in this case, against the second and the third place team if you want to stay right up there. So they've reacted to what happened to them earlier on brilliantly. Either way, we're going to be going over one last time to the analysis desk here today with Jat and Snoopy.
Thank you very much, guys. And this one was Gambit back on point, really. They had the rough one against Fnatic here, but they did seem to control that game.
Yeah, I think a lot to do was that early game presence from Alex. I mean, once he got that early control, he kind of kept it on throughout the game, and it's a big part of what we're going to look at throughout the replays.
Yeah, you can see the players just going over and giving their handshakes. I mean, there was the Diamond Proc death stare after the loss to Fnatic. It's just competitive spirit, right? Like, he is, and Moscow 5 in general, what used to be Moscow 5, now Gambit Gaming, they're just so almost killer instinct. If they win a game, they lose a game, they are just raging at each other. They don't want to talk to anyone. But you know, you can tell they're still a little pissed off after that loss to Fnatic.
Yeah, they won't come off today, even though they won 2 of their games. 2 games.
Yeah, they went 1-1 today. That was Gambit.
Yeah, right. So even though they still won against SK, they will not be happy with today's performance. Like, they should have won 2 games, and they wouldn't be happy at all. Like, I imagine the rooms tonight will not be a pretty place for Gambit.
Well, we do have some replays coming up, and again, because Snoopy pays so much attention to the early game, we're going to start this analysis right from the very get-go. So just want to talk a little bit about who had the stronger level 1 and kind of what that did to the game.
Yeah, so coming into this game, the stronger level 1 was actually in favor of SK.
Right.
But what you'd expect is Gambit would think they might invade, so we should play like a quite defensive level 1. And they did. They played a defensive level 1, anticipating perhaps an invade. But what happened was SK instead decided to take 3 camps. They took double golems, they took Wraiths, and they took wolves. So they did actually, they were in the gold lead by about 200 gold early game and an EXP advantage.
And then you see here the initial gank, and this was the counter gank you were talking about. What happened here is Hercubot actually knows that there was a ward over in this brush here, so he did the jump that he does with Vi. You talked about him really loving to do that.
Yeah, he does it a lot. You see him play Jarvan, you see him playing Vi. He likes to jump over those walls and dodge those ward spots, which he does here. But the problem is here, he's on cooldown right now, and he's looking for that counter gank.
So this is the thing that we think happened. Ocelot and Hercubot were communicating, I'm in the ward, I'm ready to gank. So Ocelot's saying, all right, I'm going to bait Alex to jump in on me right now. But he probably doesn't realize that Hercubot doesn't have his Vault Breaker up, so when the gank comes in, it just doesn't work.
It is a good idea. I mean, he's overextending, and Kha'Zix likes to jump on a TF that's overextending. It's a good idea. And you expect Diamond to come in, but what happens is he locks that blue card, and then Hercubot's not ready to respond. His Vault Breaker's still on cooldown for another 11 seconds, and that means Alex gets the double buffs onto Kha'Zix early. In a lane that TF's already losing, when Alex gets those double buffs, it's just going to snowball pretty hard, and that's actually what happened.
Yeah, and you were saying there that once Ocelot got down in the lane, the global pressure actually went to Gambit Gaming. Why was that?
Basically, TF was pressuring on his tower, and even though Alex made a lot of very cocky, aggressive moves, which actually backfired, TF was always under pressure and couldn't actually make any plays around the map, which is what you want to do with TF as soon as you hit level 6. He got 1 successful gank off top, but at the same time, Gambit was picking up dragons, Gambit was picking up pressure on bot lane and getting that tower, and Ocelot never really capitalized on the TF pick.
Right, so we actually have, once the game got to its kind of turning point, as you say, SK got a little bit back into the game. But this really was the last 2 games, the story of the Kazakhs mid. Bjergsen really got going, Alex really got going. So in this next replay that we have here, it's 18 minutes, 40 seconds into the game, 5 kills to 4. The pretty good bullet time came off, and we just get to see the initiation here. Like, as this started, you were saying, actually, this could be a good thing for SK since Ocelot didn't die.
Yeah, I mean, the problem was initially got caught and he got bursted down, but he did survive. That's the most important fact. And now they're waiting on Elise landing.
Right.
And then Herkyboss looking for the engage. They've got that gold card ready by Ocelot, and they know that Alex is pretty low on Kazakhs, and he's not there at the moment. So they have a ward just over that wall, if you can see it there.
Right.
They have that ward, so they know Alex isn't quite here yet, so they want to make an engage on Elise when she lands.
Yeah, and you can see, you're talking Ocelot couldn't get his gold card off.
Yeah.
And this is actually going to be really key later because he backed up, he was worried about the Elise coming down, and his cooldown wasn't quite up because Alex is on the hunt here.
Yep. So they pick up Elise, which is good, that's great, but now you see Alex jumping over the wall. He gets the reset, jumps onto Ocelot, but Ocelot can't pick a card fast enough. Because he waited so long to drop that card on Elise, the cooldown wasn't back up fast enough, which means Alex can pick him up instead of... This could have been a turnaround for SK, actually. If they picked up this kill on Alex with a gold card, it could have been a turnaround, but it wasn't. Alex gets the resets and then gets back out again.
Yeah, so Kazakhs just jumping all over the place. Triple kill this, Bjergsen had the quadra kill earlier. That was just... Once they got going, they had the pressure to take it through, and Gambit Gaming, after that type of control, they don't really make many mistakes.
No, they don't. Gambit's a team that knows how to capitalize. If you make a small mistake, they'll just capitalize on all the way, and that's exactly what they've done in this game. And to be honest, SK had no chance after that fight mid. That was their chance to come back, but once that happened, I didn't see them coming back into the game.
So especially you now with Evil Geniuses, you guys are in the 4th spot. You're obviously fighting for Fnatic. We talked about how you might try to take them down, but Gambit Gaming right up there at the top 2. Yeah. How do teams approach trying to take down Gambit Gaming? Because we saw a triple ban for Darien pre-game.
I would say personally that Darien's one of the weakest links on their team. He always, if you run a 2v1 against him, he always typically loses it, but somehow he always manages to bounce back. Even at disadvantages, he's still useful mid to late game. Right. I think it's really hard to shut them down. I think one thing I would do against them is early pressure. You want to get early pressure on them as opposed to them pushing early pressure onto you.
Right.
And then you can try and secure the game. What happened here is Alex got the early pressure, he pushed TF in, TF couldn't make any plays, and then it was almost Gambit's game to lose at that point. They just had to control the game and push it to a win, and that's exactly what they did. Yeah, and with that control, I mean, we have done a lot of mid MVPs this week or today, but again, it was Alex Each on Kazakhs that was really the MVP. After that level 3, when he got those double buffs, he pretty much bullied Ocelot out of the lane. Even though he made a couple of mistakes, being a bit too aggressive, there was nothing that Ocelot could do, nothing SK could do to create pressure on the map, and consequently, Alex voted MVP. And he tends to do this so many times. He always has farm. He's always crazy to go against. I know Froggen and Alex have this huge rivalry. Like, we always talk about the European mid laners being kind of like on the next level. Is that really the case? I would say there is definitely a lot of top mid lane APs in Europe, but then Asia also has some really strong ones as well. The North American scene is lacking a little bit, but the funny thing is I was talking to Macnon, and they always... The Koreans and the Asians specifically always look at European teams to pick up things, and especially the mid lanes. They always look for these new item builds, these new strategies and things like that. They always pick it up from the European teams.
Awesome stuff. So thanks for joining me for these 3 games on the Analyst Desk, Snoopy. You have been such a help breaking down the level 1s. It'll help so much for our future casting. But they're ready on the stage. Let's head over for one last time with Shocked. She has an interview with the member of the winning team.
Merci. Je suis ici avec le MVP, Alex Ish. Now, Alex, you chose a totally different team comp from the game against Fnatic, except for Kazakhs. You went on Kazakhs this time. Is your team comp what made you lose against Fnatic?
I'm not sure if it's team comp or Fnatic just played really good. Though I didn't really like the team comp. I didn't like the Kazakhs pick at all, so I think that we deserved the lose. And like, we are really tired of traveling. Before Dallas, I would say that we can hold the traveling like IEM and stuff, but after Dallas, it's really exhausting, and traveling to America is not really, like, it's fun. We really liked it. We really liked Dallas, and playing against Koreans is really good experience. But Fnatic playing the same, and they're a really good team. So they are really much better prepared than they were, and now they are really strong.
Yes, asking about that. Before you lost to Fnatic, I was going to ask you, you seem to be the team that can deal with every circumstance the best. Would you agree that you and Fnatic are going to stay in the top 2 of the LCS?
I think that there is high chance that this will happen, because at the moment I think we're winning pretty solid against other teams. So if nothing will change, then like, for example, Wolves are getting up, and maybe, I'm not sure if they still can like get the first 2 places, but they are really good at the moment.
Finally, Kazakhs it's a golden champion in your hands, just jumping all over. And we saw Darian playing with him, that didn't go as well. Would you say it's your favorite champion right now, and why?
It's not my favorite champion. I would say that I like Kassadin more, because it's like his jumps and he's AP champion. But Kazakhs is much better at mid lane. He can bully out like almost every matchup, and that's why I think Koreans are doing often 2 versus 1 against him. But if you know that you will get 2 versus 1, and there's a lot of mind games, and you can go side lane, and it is even stronger. So I really like Kazakhs, and I like how I play him. So I think that I can really carry with him much more than other champions.
Finally, I know you're tired, but are you enjoying the French crowd here?
The French crowd is really amazing. When we were at Tales of the Lane, the crowd was really good, and now it's there are more people, and they're like insane, crying a lot. It's much better than like usual LCS with 30 people there. They're just like, okay, you're getting used to it, and here everyone is amazed, and like a lot of people are crying.
And they are very happy to see you here. Thank you very much, Alex. Get some sleep. All right, let's go over to Joe and Jason one last time to take us through today's matches and take a look at the results.
A great first day here in lovely Lille. Let's break down the results here of day number 1. It's been 5 pretty awesome games, we have to say, Jason, throughout the course of the day.
Yeah, it was very action-packed throughout the entire day, as you're seeing on your screen. SK Gaming took the win over Ozone Giants against Authority, taking the loss against Evil Geniuses. Taking the loss.
Taking the loss, like real men. Fnatic beat, obviously, Gambit earlier on, and then Copenhagen Wolves, bottom place team, managing to take down Dragonborns. Then, of course, at the end there, we just saw Gambit taking out SK Gaming to finish off the day. So there are the results for today. 5 great games. Let's have a look where that leaves us in terms of the standings right now. That's the important thing coming into the halfway point of the season. Fnatic are now number 1 in the table. 12 wins, 3 losses. Gambit in second at 10 for 3. SK Gaming bringing up third, 9 for 7. EG tied with them, 9 for 7.
And looking at the bottom half of the standings, it's so close right now. If you look at the win percentages, 0.385, 0.308, anything can happen down there, and it's those last 2 slots that we're always talking about. You don't want to be the last 2, and Wolves, they're looking like they want to take a run to get out of that.
And don't forget, guys, if you want to see more info and statistics from the LCS so far, as well as the latest VODs, recaps, and everything else, then make sure you get yourselves over to lolesports.com. And don't forget that good old spoiler button at the bottom. Jason, it's been a pleasure, as per usual. We shall, of course, be back here tomorrow, but that's it for us here at the caster desk. Let's get over to Shox for some final thoughts.
Wow, what a day here in Lille, and it was only the first day. Tomorrow, the action's going to begin at 11 Central European time. It's going to give you a grand final between the amateur teams for the promotion qualifier, Meet Your Makers, and Team Alternate, and of course followed by 7 LCS matchups. It's going to be the Evil Geniuses versus Giants, Against All Authority versus Wolves, Dragonborns taking on Fnatic, Against All Authority versus SK, followed by the Copenhagen Wolves versus Evil Geniuses, Fnatic versus Giants, and we close out the weekend with Dragonborns versus Gambit. From me, I'd like to thank everyone here, all the casters, our friends casters, Tweaks and Lej, our own casters, our analysts, the people at the analyst desk who helped, the production crew, and I'd like to thank you guys, the fans here. Vous êtes magnifiques. À demain.